What up, y'all? Corey here. On this episode, we're going to be talking about how to simplify your marketing strategy. I just recently interviewed a Navy SEAL on the previous episode, if you want to check it out, and he said something to me that really stuck. He said, nothing survives first contact. What he meant by that is that whenever he was on missions in very serious circumstances, is that whatever plan that you thought that you had in place never really went according to plan, especially if it was over complexified. One of the most effective things that you can do in your life in general is just to simplify things and get very clear on what the basics are to actually get the job or get the mission done. And I think that this is equally true for your marketing strategy, is that complexity breeds confusion, and confused customers don't buy. And so that's exactly what we're going to talk about on this episode, is how do you simplify your marketing strategy and what are the 3 things that you should do to make it as simple as possible. Let's go. All right, the very first thing that you should consider is, who are you marketing to? I can't tell you the number of times that I've been on a client call and I say, who is your ideal client or who is your target market? And the response is everyone. No, it is not. It is not everybody, people. I'm sorry. Not even Amazon. I mean, as hard as they try, believe me, Amazon can pretty much, for the most part, target almost everyone. But even Amazon can't target everyone. There's people in other countries. And more specifically, honestly, I actually looked into it. Amazon's target market is actually millennials. I think very specifically, it's 37-year-olds last time I checked it out. So even they have a target market. But my point is that no matter what your business or your service is that you cannot market to everyone, especially not at a high level. You can try to, you can spread yourself super thin, but it's unlikely that you're really going to click or resonate with anyone. One of my favorite things is like when I'm scrolling through Instagram or any social media, or even on blogs for that matter, and I see an ad pop out to me that is very clearly targeted to me and my pain points or the things that I'm thinking about. There's nothing I love more than that. One I saw recently was that there's this company called BPN, and it's a supplement company, and one of their advertisement was basically a side-by-side of their product and a BPN product, which tells me that they obviously know that I understand who that company is and what I actually want. They were basically showing a side-by-side that they were saying, like, we don't use any artificial sweeteners, which is something that I care about. We don't have any sort of other fillers or et cetera, et cetera. Basically all the things that were in line with my values. And this is equally true for your own marketing strategy, whether it's the content that you're putting out or even if it's ads that you're running, the copy on your website. Those should be all targeted towards a very, very specific person. And it's one of the things that would seem obvious to most people, but it's actually one of the things that people miss the most often. And so just a few questions to ask yourself if you're trying to figure out who your target market is one of the easiest ways to do this is to think about, honestly, your previous self. Is what are the problems that you've overcome, whether they're personal or professional, or it's who do you like to hang out with? Who do you like to spend time with? Who do you like to talk to? Those are honestly the easiest and most low-hanging fruit for people of like who to target and who to start considering could be your target market. Because if you don't like hanging out with them at the end of the day, then it's probably not going to go very well for you, depending upon what your product or service is. But that's a really, really low-hanging fruit, is like, what are the previous problems and who do you like hanging out with? Start there when deciding on who is my target market. So the second thing to consider when you're trying to simplify your marketing strategy is to pick a primary platform. There are a lot of people that are going to tell you to repurpose and redistribute your content. I don't necessarily think that's bad advice, but I think that you should have one primary platform that you should be on. Unless you have a giant marketing team, then by all means, then obviously try to create content everywhere. But it's very, very hard just to grow on one platform, let alone multiple platforms. Me personally, I try to write and do everything on LinkedIn. That is my primary platform. I've been writing and creating content on LinkedIn every single day for at least over a year, if not 2 years now. And it's taken me a very, very long time to slowly grow and build up an audience on that platform. This is true for every type of platform, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever name your platform is. I think it's just very important that you're clear on which platform you're primarily creating for and focusing energy towards growing on that platform. And then sure, yes, you can throw content out on the other platforms, but don't get discouraged when you don't grow on those other platforms, because you're not going to be putting energy into them, because as I said, it is very hard to grow an audience. And I think that is a goal, I would say, of most people nowadays, is to grow some form or some audience. Otherwise, if you're spreading yourself too thin, diluted focus creates diluted results. right? I'm going to say that again. Diluted focus creates diluted results. So pick one platform that you really want to go all in on and really grow on that one specifically. And then honestly, for the most part, kind of forget the rest. Like you can throw other content on there, but I wouldn't worry about it or I wouldn't get upset about it when you don't grow on those platforms. And just as a final note, it's probably a good idea to pick a platform that your ideal client is on. I've more recently noticed that actually a lot of my ideal client is unfortunately on Facebook. And so I've been a little bit more engaged in Facebook groups, but that is not deterring me from focusing primarily on LinkedIn because I primarily obviously target business owners. But the same thing is true for you, is like, where's your ideal client? That's probably another sign of like, maybe this should be our primary platform. And the third thing to consider when you're trying to simplify your marketing strategy is to get clear on what you want. I would say more often than not, when I talk to people, they say things like, I want more followers, I want more subscribers, I want more downloads. And I honestly push back on those statements a lot, as although those are fun to have those ego metrics and to see the numbers slowly rise and to create content that gets this big influx of followers and views on your platform, it's honestly not always that great for business. It actually reminds me of the recent conversation I had again in that previous episode with Sean Glass, where we were talking about how when he first started trying to connect with large influencers, people with massive audiences, and he sold 0 boxes of beef. Basically, he sold 0 products trying to market with these larger influencers that had all these followings, versus when he connected with small micro niche influencers, people who had much smaller audiences but were much more engaged and connected. He ended up selling more boxes of beef and it turned out being a lot better for him. But this is equally true for your business and your marketing strategy, is to get very clear on what it is you're actually hoping to get by creating content or running ads or doing whatever the marketing strategy that it is be very clear on what the metrics are. If the metrics are to make, we'll say, $10,000 a month, then that's probably the thing that we should be considering tracking a little bit more closely than necessarily how many followers or how many likes or how many clicks that something gets. And as a final note on this topic, probably one of the best pieces of advice that I can give to you on this topic is to try to err towards creating helpful content, not necessarily trendy content. Helpful content is what really gets people to know, like, and trust you as a business or a company, versus trendy content is just entertainment and it's just fun to watch. I have a lot of friends here in Austin, I'm not going to name names, that are really good at creating very entertaining content. But at the end of the day, do any of those actually turn into business results or to more money in the pocket? I don't really think so. And so just know that every good marketing plan starts by knowing what you want and then working backwards from there. Clarity in goals equals clarity in action. And so just as a final recap on those 3 things that we just talked about is, number 1 is get clear on who you're marketing to. And I can tell you it's not everybody. The second thing is to pick a primary platform. For sure, you can redistribute onto other platforms, but only expect to grow on one platform. And then the third thing is to know what you want. Get clarity on what it is you're actually working towards or marketing towards or trying to build in your business. If you have any future marketing questions or things that you want me to dive into, please let me know. I love engaging with my audience. I hope this was helpful. Love you guys. Peace. Hey friend, thanks for listening to the show. And if you have any feedback for me about the show or any other guests that you'd want to see in the show, definitely shoot me a message. I love engaging with my audience and figuring out how I can provide the best value possible to the people listening to this show. Before you go, I only have one ask of you, and that would be to check out my 3 Tips Tuesday newsletter. It's 3 marketing tips every Tuesday specifically for the health and fitness entrepreneur to help them attract new leads. If you press the link in the description, it'll take you directly to the archive of all my previous newsletters, and you can decide for yourself if it's something for you. If you end up finding it helpful, you can just sign up for the newsletter and you'll get it in your inbox every Tuesday. Thanks again, and keep hustling, my friends.